The road to success is rarely a straight line. It's full of twists and turns, detours, redirections, hills and valleys. So join us on the path to success as we explore people's personal journeys. Come be encouraged, informed, and empowered to reach your dreams. Hi, this is Boris Pendergrass, and you're on the Path to Success podcast. I'm excited. Today's guest is Dennis Gulotta. He is owner and operator of Air We Are, an HVAC company. They do residential and commercial, or commercial and residential in the Central Jersey business. So I would like to say, Dennis, welcome aboard today.
Thank you. Thank you, Boris.
And, you know, Dennis, I'd like to start off with, tell me a little bit about your company today, Air We Are, and what's the name? What's the story behind the name?
Well, the name, my brother is Air We Are up in Edison, and probably back in the 80s, he and my mom had gotten together and put their heads together about naming the company. And my mother came up with Air We Are. She thought that was cute. And funny because lots of people think it's a wonderful name, especially women. I mean, they're like, oh, that's the best name I've ever heard. It's funny because I never cared for it too much, but it is what it is, you know. So it's a decent name and it's catchy.
That's great. So tell me, what are you guys doing today? I think you do mostly commercial.
We do probably 60+% commercial. We do commercial refrigeration, a lot of restaurants, a lot of large restaurants, hotels, a lot of smaller companies, mom and pop, pizzerias, delis, things like that. Probably about 40% residential at this point. We do service installation. We do a lot of rooftop units, commercial freezers, a lot of work, a broad spectrum.
That's great. And how long have you guys been in business? How long have you had the company?
I incorporated the company in 2007. So it's been 13 years now.
All right, great. So as the intro says, the path to success is rarely a straight line, right? It's twists and turns. And let's take you back and hear about how you've gotten there. And I guess where I'd like to take you back is, you know, you're in your mid-30s. You're getting ready to focus on a career. You're going back to school. Talking about that, I think that's where you were getting into computer programming. So take me back there to your computer programming days.
Yes, I was working at a company called Brother, make typewriters, fax machines, and was pretty disenchanted there. Was in the throes of adopting our first child. And we were traveling, so it was difficult, and it wasn't a great career. And so I began to consider going into IT. I had some training already, some college already, and began to take courses at night while I was working full time at Brother. So that was a story in itself. Driving from Somerset up to Morris County College at night. And eating my dinner on my lap and my book on my steering wheel. I'm cramming for tests and did that for a number of years at night. So yeah, that was some challenge. It was amazing, actually.
What was your sleep pattern like during those times?
I probably got back home by about 10:30 at night, and then we'd get to bed by about midnight, get up at 6, and back off to work every day down to Somerset. So it was a challenge, especially when it snowed a lot. We went back up to Sussex County. The time we were living up there, Lake Apacon, so it was always snowing up there. If it was raining here, it was snowing up there. So the traveling was difficult.
So an hour each way every day?
Hour in the best scenario. Yeah, the best case scenario, it was an hour drive. And Donna was also driving down to Somerset. So we were doing that for about 10 years.
Wow.
10 years traveling like that. Yeah, it was difficult. Long time.
So you go back to school in your mid-30s, right? You're getting your degree, computer science, and then you get your job at Dialogics, which was Intel. So tell me a little bit about that. You know, hey, you're there, right? You got the job that you want. Tell me a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, when I got into there, Dialogic was a smaller company at the time. It was probably about 1998, I'm guessing, and within about a year, there was 2,000 employees. It went from 200 to 2,000, and it was blowing up. If you remember the dot-com blow up and then the eventual meltdown in 2003. So, yeah, I was very happy there. It was a small company, had a real great feel, a lot of Seton Hall grads, a lot of fun people, young people. We got to lunch all the time. It was really good, and it worked for me. I was doing database programming and building something called Big Clock, which was a big deal for the marketing department there, which had a real struggle in tracking their marketing deliverables and everything. And so it was going wonderful until Intel bought us out. And I don't know if you want me to launch into that story or not, but
well, I mean, Intel, they're a hot company, right? They're a worldwide brand. I would think that would be an exciting thing.
Not for me. I was not into. I did not want to be a part of a large company. Brother was a very large company, and I didn't like what came with that. And I usually necessitated lots of meetings and living in meetings all the time. And Intel was the epitome of being in meetings all the time and never barely having time to write code, which is really what we were tasked with doing. And, just the big corporate thing, it was just not my cup of tea. And if I'd have known I was going to Intel, I would have never even got into that career. I would have taken a totally different career path. But so I can get into a smaller company. I was very happy for a year or two. And then lo and behold, Intel buys us out. And got difficult from there.
So you're saying at Intel, you no one knew your name? I mean, talking with HR, no midday lunches. What was that like?
Exactly. Well, it was funny because like when you're a smaller company, you got a nice feel. Everybody knows everybody. Suddenly, Intel had 80,000 employees worldwide, and I would call HR and I would say, "Hi, this is Dennis Gulotta." I said, "Stop. We don't want to know Dennis Gulotta. That means nothing to us. What is your worldwide ID? Your WWID?" Well, that got me. That got my back hairs up. And you give them and they'd punch in everyone. All right, we know. What do you need? And so I didn't like that world. I don't like that world where you're just a number. And we're building big programs, so you don't feel like you're part of something that at the end of the day you can look and say, well, I just did that. Because you're just like part of a machine. And I did not want that for my life. And suddenly that's where I was back to.
So did you just jump up and leave?
No, I should have, but no. No, so, of course I had to put food on the table and I had a new child just coming to us, my daughter, Holly. And, you do what you have to do. Obviously, you have to work. And I worked in a lot of jobs and careers I was very unhappy in, but, were provided. And I knew that's what I didn't want for my life because that was coming into my family, that anger, that coming home angry because you're not happy, you're very unhappy, you're not in God's will. And I didn't want that, and that's where I was back to, So I stayed the course. And then in 2003, the dot-com meltdown, and suddenly Intel was beginning to talk about lopping whole divisions. And people were, suddenly it was quiet. Nobody was going out to lunch anywhere. Everybody was hiding in their cubes, hoping that they weren't axed next. These people had big mortgages. It was an awful place to work at the time. And so they came to our division, and suddenly our division was on the chopping block. So they offered us buyouts, and with the buyout, they said, I would get like a year's salary, which was a lot of money at the time, and they would guarantee we could get unemployment for 6+ months, and that was going to be a segue into me being able to start my own business. Because I knew I was going to need something to carry me for a while, and so I took the buyout.
So had you been thinking about starting your own business like before the buyout came? Was this something bubbling in the back of your mind?
Yeah, sure. My brother Jeff was constantly telling me, because he knew how unhappy I was there at Intel, and that went on for probably a good 2.5 years before the buyout. And he would tell me then, jump in with us. We're killing it. We're making money. And he would always tell me, and I felt bad that my brother was doing better than me. I knew he was running circles around me financially. And so, and I thought could be a good fit, and, as you age, I think, if you can be the captain of your own ship, as it were, that's a good thing. Because as you age, suddenly you start feeling that they want to push you out. The young guys are better. The young kids coming out of college, and you start feeling bad about your job. And that's right where I was at, And so I wanted to get to that place where also there was a thing where, your work and your input being commensurate with your compensation, I mean, I worked hard at some jobs and you just get compensated like everybody else, a lousy 4% raise at the end of the year. It was really disheartening. And I was working hard, getting up really early, staying late, And, I felt like if I was in my own business, when I put the pedal to the metal, it was going to result in better income. And I knew that, And so that was important to me.
So, the whole buyout, I mean, was that easy? Did it take time? How did that, sit with you and your wife talking about, taking the buyout, starting the business? How did that decision come about?
Yeah, we talked and prayed a lot about that, and Donna tells me, reminds me how we prayed and just sought God about it. The big decision. I mean, I was 43 years old. I mean, it's a late in life to start another career. And friends of mine looked at me like I had 3 heads. You're going to do what? You're going to do HVAC? You're 43 years old. You out of your mind or what? You're going to be on roofs in the winter and in attics. And I said, yeah, whatever. I'm strong, and I go to the gym all the time. So, and I have been strong, and it has been wonderful. It's been a wonderful decision in retrospect. I've never had any regrets about it. And I've done plenty of things in my life that I've had regrets about, but this wasn't one of them.
So you take the buyout, right? The next day, are you hanging your own shingle? Is it this, or how did you make that segue? How did you make that transition?
Yeah, well, I went to work for my brother who had AirWear in Edison before I had AirWear in Toms River. But I worked for Jeff for almost 3 full years, and then told him, I need to start my own business because I know I need to get on a stronger earnings track,
Sure.
And, he asked me, would I stay 1 more year because I was at that, journeyman place where he could earn a lot of money from me. And he had trained me and was asking me, some give back. So I said, sure, I'll give you 1 more season, And I was making decent money with him, but not the kind of money, I felt like I needed to make,
Sure.
So I did that and I stayed with him. And then that fall, I segued into my own business. And I was picking up accounts on the side. And I knew I had already a good handful of accounts that was going to probably get me the kind of earnings I was already making with him. And then I'd grow it from there, which I did. So it was a good move.
So those 3 years were kind of like an apprenticeship. Was it,
Yes.
getting into the business and certifications and things like that?
Yeah, I would take some courses at night, kind of some adult VOTAX and get certified. I had some other certifications from probably about 10 years previous. I worked with my brother and had obtained my universal certification for refrigerant and everything like that, which are critical components to that career, So I had all that already. So it was a good fit and a good segue into that. And then I got did a lot of training actually, picking up courses constantly, And to this day, we continually are, staying on top of training. The career changes all the time, the industry. So kind of comes with the turf, you know what I'm saying? Always retraining.
That's awesome. And I'm assuming you, from a technology, new products, new ways to do things. Is that what you mean from a constantly training?
Sure. Yeah, all the higher efficiencies and all the new mandates with requirements of higher efficient equipment, a lot of new technologies, a lot of new kinds of equipment coming out. So yeah, always having to retrain, always having to pick up courses here and there, send my employees to courses. Yeah.
Something I didn't even think about until we're having this conversation is that you working with your brother, just families being so important, and you see the breakdown sometime in family, and you don't see people working together. Talk to me a little bit about that, right? Because some families can't work together, and it looks like
we got into it a bit. Yeah, I mean, it was good and bad, obviously, just like family, There's some things you love about your family, some things you hate about your family, But yeah, for the most part, it was a good thing, And I had a lot of, I mean, I was on my own truck and doing my own thing, because I was a grown man, so it wasn't like working for somebody that you're under their thumb all the time, or under their watchful eye. But we got into it at times, We definitely had some fights. Because I was the older brother, I would have to tell him, you don't talk to me like that, My brother would get angry because I'd screw something up, because I was green, And I remember one time I put my finger in his face and said, you watch how you talk to me, I'm your older brother. You need to remember that, And so, yeah, difficult. A lot of difficulty along the way.
Wow. So I guess, now you're here, right? You're 13 years in, successful business, great name, right? Again, impacting commercial businesses. I guess what are some of the things, kind of lessons learned, right? What are you sharing with your son? I know you have a son who's 20 something. What are you sharing with our audience about being on that path to success and accomplishing our dreams or goals?
Yeah. Well, with my son, I just had a long conversation with him just recently. about, when somebody, he's on a career path for union carpentry. And his school got preempted by COVID, so he finished 3/4 of it, and suddenly it just ended. Thankfully, he's going to be able to continue that this year and finish it up. But he went to work for a deck builder, and it's a little off of where he was going, and he's happy doing that. But I was telling him to be careful that you deviate, and invariably we deviate, on our course to our goal. It's easy to do that, but it's easy to get stuck in those ruts, to get off into a rut, get happy, making money, and then just not go back there, and then look up years later and realize, wow, where am I? You need to stay the course. So I was telling him about meandering, but keep bringing it back to your goal. Keep having things that are feeding into that goal, and never get so far away that you're not on that career path anymore. That's something I was telling my son, As far as telling, the broader audience, for me, it was really important to get to a place where you believe, one, that you're in the will of God, and two, that you're happy, or as much as you can be content in work. I mean, a lot of times work it's work, and it's difficult, but to be in a career that you're really unhappy in, and really, or maybe miserable. I was miserable. I come home angry, I told my wife, I kick the dog, yell at the kids, It's just a tough living, and being angry all the time. And I was angry for a long time with work, and then you start feeling about, you're angry at God because God ain't doing nothing for you. It's a bad place, So, and a lot of people, maybe they're chasing the money, they're chasing prestige, or they're looking for a certain salary, and it doesn't satisfy. And I started making really good money at Intel, more money than I ever thought I'd make in life, with great benefits and stock options, and was really unhappy, extremely unhappy. And so I would just tell people, be praying and really trying to discover God's purpose for your life, and God's will for you in your employment. And don't stay or get stuck in a place that you're really that unhappy at, because it just segues into your marriage life, to your children's lives, and probably in every relationship you have, because the poison things, like a bitter root. The Bible talks about a bitter root, you don't want that for your life, and and then the whole thing with God's will, if you feel like you're really miserable in a job, you can't believe that that's God's will for you. And so you're going to know you're not in God's will, because God wants us to be, content and happy in what we're doing. And so that's critical in my estimation, So I'd encourage people in the also.
Just to pick up on that, I just recently released a book called Surviving Layoffs, and how faith, favor, and follow through helps you. And I talk about, in one of my layoff situations and looking for new jobs, really having a sense of what I wanted to do and didn't want to do. Right, my kids were young. My oldest daughter was like coming into her teenage years. I had three children, and I didn't want to be in a position where I was traveling away from the home. Right, so I had a sense of the kind of job I would do and would not do. And that piggybacks off of what you said, right? The culture that you were working in big Intel wasn't what the culture you wanted, and then the culture that you created for yourself. And just being something a key point. I guess talk a little bit about the culture at Air We Are right now, where you control that.
Yes. Well, I mean, the wonderful thing for me in a business is, I always say I'm the captain of my own ship. That's important as you age, and you begin to feel that, the pressure of age. But, and suddenly I'm the boss. I decide what's going on. I don't feel that pressure anymore, like trying to keep up with the younger guys, maybe in the technology realm. It's very challenging, very stressful. I mean, and this job has its own stressors. Don't kid yourself. I mean, yes, we're on cold, we're on roofs in the dead of winter, whipping wind at night. We do a lot of emergency work. We're in attics in the summer. It's a tough career physically, very tough career. Even the young guys say they don't want to do it. Very hard to find employees, because these kids working in 6 months, and they realize, I don't want this for my life. It's a very tough career. It really is. So it's challenging from that perspective. But we have a good culture. My guys, I really put a lot of faith and trust in them. They drive their own vans. They give them their own vans. They give them credit card. They go. They self-directed. I mean, I set the calendar every day of all the jobs, and they pick from them and they knock them out, and that's their job, is to get it done. And, we go out for lunch together and breakfast. We have a good friendly culture, we go out for Christmas dinner together, and yeah, it's a real family environment, and, predicated on trust. I always tell them it's predicated on trust. So I trust you guys implicitly with everything. I'm giving you the keys of the kingdom. You got my credit card, you got my trucks, and I expect you to treat everything properly, and be trustworthy, and don't ever lie. Won't stand for that. Just like in a relationship, that whole thing will just crumble if there's lying. And they would tell me their hours. I don't question them. So it's a good culture. Good culture, I believe, for them and for me.
And just, I want to finish with what you said is really following after peace, right? Are you at that place where you should be, right? Are you enjoying your job? Are you coming back home with that poison, that stress, anxiety? You're spilling that on your family, your wife, your marriages, your relationship. You're kicking the dog. All those should be signs, I guess.
Yeah. Well, early on, I've had some terrible, I came in this house pretty upset and angry on many occasions, feeling inadequate, feeling like I can't learn it, the physicality of it. Sometimes I come through the door at 12 midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning in the winter. I would be on jobs, you got to get it done, Once you're working on big restaurants that have no heat, and it's 10 degrees and the wind's whipping outside, you're not leaving. And, so there were some tremendous challenges as far as that goes, So it hasn't been all roses, that's for sure. It's, it's been a big challenge as far as all that.
But even right there, right, what I hear is a level of commitment to deliver the product, the service to your customers, regardless of what it takes. I got to believe that drives reputation. And with that, customers are recommending Air We Are. Would that be a correct assessment?
Most definitely. Yeah. We, we were completely honest with our customers. We always give our customers options to repair, replace. We don't try to just, lasso people into the better job for us, which would be replacing, like lots of companies do. We're completely honest, which is a very big challenge, being honest in this industry. Lots of people fault, lots of business owners like, oh, Mr. Boris, your part didn't come in yet. They're lying all the time, so they can work their schedule. I don't ever lie to people, I tell them the truth. Look, the parts here were really backed up, and then they give you a hard time. But you know what? They know that all my customers, they hire me to do their homework, that own restaurant. I trust you, bro. And I get a lot of work because they completely trust me. They know I don't lie, I never lie, and we don't take cash and all that stuff. We just don't go there, We do what's right by the Lord, and He's blessed that, He's blessed that tremendously. And we do. We stay at the job all night if we have to. We get it done. Most definitely. There's no other choice in this industry.
Wait. So I was going to wrap up, but I would like you to share the story about being stuck on the roof. You shared with me one time. I think you were with your brothers or stuck on the roof or something like that. Let's wrap up with that story.
Yes, I was still working for my brother Jeffrey, and it was we were in Edison, in Raritan Center, up on a tall building at night, and we were there, and it was Friday night, and it was just about midnight. Now this place, you ever see that sign? If you want to see the dead come to life, be around here at closing time. Well, this was the epitome of it. This way, we came down at about 12:05, and it was a ghost town. There was nobody in the factory, and we're like, "What's going on here?" Well, we got in our trucks. All right, we're out of here. We're done. We come to the gate, and it's locked. It's padlocked. So we're locked in the property. So I told my brother, "Get a crowbar out. Break it. Come on, we got to get out of here." He's like, "Ben, you can't do that. There's no way. We got to call the police." So he calls the police, and the police said, "Okay, we'll be there." We were here at 3 o'clock in the morning waiting for them to come let us out. We call them back. They said, "Hey, it's in Edison. It's Friday night. We'll get there when we get there." So the fire department eventually came, cut the locks, and let us out. So I come home, and my wife thinks I'm out partying with my brother all night. She goes, "Yeah, I know what you're doing. You're out partying with your brother on Friday. Are you crazy? I'm stuck on a roof working all night." That was really funny. So yeah, that's the way it goes. Sometimes you get stuck on jobs, and
well, Dennis,
Donald said that was the cleaned up version. I guess that was
the cleaned up version.
That was the cleaned up version. But
well, hey, I'd like to say thank you for sharing your path to success. It's been encouraging. I thank you for that. Our audience, thank you for being with us today. Dennis, Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you, Boris. Appreciate it, man.
Have a great day.
Thank you. You too, man.